Hey everyone, before we dive into today's episode, we just want to remind you that while we love exploring the meaning behind songs and their emotional impact, some topics may be sensitive or triggering. If you find yourself distressed, please reach out to your local mental health and wellbeing services for support. You're not alone and help is available. Now, let's get into the episode. G'day AJ.
G'day, Mo.
How are ya?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. I am good. Hey, listen, welcome to another episode of Songs on the Couch.
Sitting down, we're talking out. Breaking it down, talks on the couch. Music and minds, we'll figure it out. Laughing and learning what it's all about. On the couch.
So tell me,
Mm.
drum
Yep.
chucks,
Yes.
yeah, what song are we bringing on over to the couch today?
We are bringing on over, probably personally, my favorite ColdPlay song
Yeah?
is Clocks.
Clocks.
Yeah. So from their second album, Rush of Blood to the Head,
Yeah.
released back in 2002.
Holy
what-
dooly.
so what
How
was
many?
that?
Okay, how old? How old?
I was in year 9.
No way.
No, year 10. I was in year 10
Oh my
when
God,
this song came out.
I was a full decade out of school.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Okay.
That's not
all
showing
right.
our age, so
No.
people, please don't do the maths and try and figure out how old we actually are. So.
No, don't.
Yeah.
Don't remind me. Don't
No,
remind me. I don't want to
no.
know.
No, I remember when this song came out. I was a little. I was hypnotized by the song,
Yeah.
especially those drums, those hypnotizing, just constant rhythmic drum patterns.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the first songs that I probably wanted to sit down and learn how to play from start to finish. It was just that hypnotic rhythmic feel of the drums for me.
Yeah.
That what's got me into that song.
Yeah. There's a lot of crash.
There's
the
a lot of crash.
A lot of crash cymbal.
Yeah.
For our non-musical friends, what is the crash? What do we do with the crash?
Well, we syncopate on the crash.
Right.
We accent
Okay.
on the crash.
Yeah.
We essentially use the crash as an accent. So as a, how can we explain an accent? Kind of like a voice, or as a statement in the song is where we'd use the crash to
Right.
kind of give a statement piece and say bit of a punch in the face,
bit of a punch.
"Ah, here it
Gonna
is."
Take that.
Yeah, pow.
Yes. Yeah, it is quite a driving rhythm, isn't it?
It is.
With
It's very
with
driving.
With a lot of crash.
Yeah.
And
But it's also, I was going to
yeah,
say, it's
tell
also a good song to learn when you're starting out drums because it's got that rhythm. It's so hard to keep in time constantly, playing that drum beat over and over. You're not really changing anything. So to keep that beat going in time for, however long it is, 3.5, 4 minutes, it's actually, it's a bit of a workout song when you're young and learning to play the drums. I suggest that you practice
Yeah.
the drums to this song.
right, okay, to keep it in time and in rhythm
Get your
over
chops up.
time. Get your chops up. It's a way to flex your muscles
It is.
on the drums.
Yeah.
It's not my first foray into Coldplay actually because I love their first album Parachutes. I think that was released in 2000. What was I doing in 2000? I think I was deep in a university degree.
Yep.
I think I may have just finished a Bachelor of Business and I thought to myself, I'm not ready to leave uni yet. What else am I going to do? So I think I had embarked on a grad dip of education
Yeah.
because I am a trained high school teacher as well. Got my degree, got the degree to prove it. You know,
Well, I was going to say, you do a lot of schooling in these episodes. You know, you're
I
teaching
do.
us. You're teaching us a lot. We're learning as we're going on. I don't have a
Yeah.
schooling degree. I hope that I'm still teaching, but you're really teaching.
Well, you're teaching as well. Yeah, I really fell in love with their single Shiver. And that album was on high rotation. That album was on such high rotation. I think it was kind of the first time. Actually, no. I remember it got on high rotation somewhere in my life, somewhere in about 2004. And the reason I remember this is because I think I got my first iPod, and I think I had a car. I think I had a car that I could plug the iPod into. But I didn't quite have the technology to load that thing up because you had to download your songs from LimeWire or Napster or
Illegally download.
illegally.
Then get a virus on your computer. Yeah.
Or it was the days where, Apple products, if you had a Windows computer, there wasn't really a nice marriage. So even if you wanted to pay for the albums to get them on your iPod, it was just fraught with technological hiccups.
And remember, like each song was like $1, like 99-cent songs.
That's
Or you
right.
have to actually like pay for the album, like $30 for a digital copy of the album.
That's right. Through iTunes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get it on your iPod. So I think Parachutes was probably one of like 3 albums on my iPod at the time until, I think, my partner at the time, who's now my husband, I think that guy, I think I was with that guy at that time.
That one guy.
Yeah, he's an IT guy. So he sort of figured out how we could get more songs on the iPod. So anyway, Parachutes was on high rotation. And I think, Parachutes and Rush of Blood to the Head, like ColdPlay was just a very new sound at the time. Very, those kind of melodic, jangly guitars. Clocks in particular, because it had that iconic piano riff, right? That it's so
yeah.
That one. It's you instantly know that it's Clocks, which might I add. Just you got one too?
I got one too.
Because for the people at the back, we are coming to you live from my therapy rooms where where the therapy takes place and the Songs on the Couch podcast. So we've got plenty of clocks in here because therapy is a bit of a timekeeping profession. You got to stick to time.
You do.
Right.
And don't you just hate when you're like, oh, sorry, our time's up for today. And you're like, and the person's halfway through the conversation, like,
yeah.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah. Yes.
Just cut it off there and there. Like,
I know.
Oh, sorry, out of time.
No.
Time is money.
If any of my, it's not like that. Obviously, I try to let people finish their thoughts.
That's it.
Finish the thought that you're on. If any of my patients are listening, hi. But they'll all probably know that that I'll name how many minutes we've left. I'll go, okay, all right. Well, so we've got 2 minutes left. So, and I'll go, look, we'll have to finish on that, but let's come back around to what we went over today and the meaning and the significance of that.
Yeah.
But always trying to keep to the 50-minute hour, as Freud calls it.
That's right.
Because you need time to do your notes. Because if you don't do your notes, you've got to kind of remember, the themes and what we talked about and the interventions we used. And so it's quite poignant, this song. It's all about clocks. It's all about timekeeping and making sure we get it all done in the time frame that we have and we wrap it up. So
I like it.
Anyway, I'm banging on a bit.
That's all right.
So tell me, tell me about clocks. Any interesting tidbits?
Well, before I go into this, I was going to give you my little foray of Rush of Blood to the Head. So obviously I was in high school when this song came out, but what brought me back to the album was a movie. I don't know if you've seen it. It's an independent movie film by Zach Braff, who, if you don't know who Zach Braff is, and if you haven't seen Scrubs,
Scrubs, yeah.
Movie called
we're really showing our age now.
We are.
Yeah.
Movie called Garden State, which had The Scientist on the soundtrack, and it's an amazing movie soundtrack. Like, do yourself a favor, listen to that movie soundtrack.
Okay.
And that song was on it.
Encapsulates an era, doesn't it?
It
Early
does.
2000s, you know?
Yeah.
That kind of, it was the turn of the century.
It was. And there was some really good indie films coming out around that time too, and had some really good soundtracks. And The Scientist was on that soundtrack, and I was like, oh yeah. So that, like, at that time I went back to listening to Rush of Blood to the Head, and like, I was like, oh yeah, clocks. Oh, I used to play drums to that. Like, it was like, even though it was a few years later that album came out, I kind of stopped listening to it by then, but it all came back to me. Yeah.
Through the Zach Braff film, Garden State. Haven't seen it. I really should, do
it.
Look,
if you're into like independent, low budget films, but with really good storylines.
Garden State. Okay, I'll take it.
And really good movie soundtrack too.
I'll take it under advisement.
Yeah.
We're just so spoiled for choice, aren't we? We're just so spoiled for content and choice that lots of things have slipped through my net. But anyway, back to clocks. Back to clocks, right. So you kind of had a little bit of a retrospective. You kind of went back after listening to The Scientist, and I kind of went forward into Rush of the Blood to the Head, but then I went back to Parachutes.
Yeah.
I think one of my favourite ColdPlay songs is a song called Spies from Parachutes. But anyway, we're not talking about spies.
No, we're not.
Talking about clocks.
I'm getting a theme though. Spies, clocks, it's The Scientist. Yeah.
Right.
They're actually really cool song names. I like their song names, and it's funny that clocks is not mentioned at all in the song.
Well, he does speak about ticking clocks at one point, but you'd think it'd be, because usually the title is kind of part of the chorus. That's sort of
it is
a bit of a what would you call it? It's a bit of a formula, or it's a formula that songwriters use. Yeah.
Yeah. Most songwriters will, to get the song name of the song, they would take a line from the chorus, like the hook of the song would then be, that's what they'd call the song.
Yeah. Yeah. But ticking clocks is buried deep in the lyrics of this one. You have to rifle through it.
You do. And an interesting tidbit about this song. Now we're going to go.
Oh, yeah. Interesting tidbits.
This song it actually doesn't have any choruses in it. So it's pretty much just one long
verse.
One long verse, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't quite resolve, does it? Is that kind of what it's kind of this piano-driven sort of spiral.
It is. Hence, clocks. Because it's just constantly going around. It's just constantly going around.
Look at what we just did.
Yeah.
Air fist pump.
And that's the whole point of the song. Like, it wasn't meant to have your typical verse, chorus, bridge, end. It's just supposed to be this, almost like just a loop, a constant loop.
I mean, it's an existential loop, It sounds like a beautiful panic attack in a cathedral. It's like,
yes,
that doesn't feel like it's got an end. It's I think it's very existential in nature. If I really look at the lyrics and that kind of never-ending sense of not being able to solve it, to come to a resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Carry on. More interesting tidbits. Yeah.
No, I like where this is going. This is good.
Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah. Carry on.
So another thing about the song, it was actually wasn't going to be on this album. It was the last song that they actually recorded. And it was all improvised, last minute, like, and really quick, recorded really quick, like only, it was recorded in like 2 or 3 sessions, which is probably like a day or two, if you think about it, because most bands will record overnight, like long sessions, 8, 9, 10-hour recording sessions. But the concept of the song probably only came up in about 15, 20 minutes. Well, that piano riff anyway.
Right, which is the seat of the song, really, isn't it? It's the hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 15 minutes to, to develop a hook like that, that's pretty clever.
It's quick. And it's quick and clever.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is that Chris Martin was feeling a bit of imposter syndrome about the song. He goes, he didn't think that this song was grand enough to be on the album.
Right. Okay. And he was feeling imposter syndrome about himself, I suppose.
About it all.
Right. Okay. I mean, I think that's kind of that's pretty typical for artists, isn't it?
It is very typical, yeah.
They're all, there's always a sense of sort of second guessing self and wondering if you measure up and compare. Oh, I wonder if that's where the lyric of "Nothing Else Compares" comes from.
It is. I think he turned that imposter syndrome around and put it into the song, and that's what probably what blew it up, I'd say, as well.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, so let's have a look at this. So, what if you've got imposter syndrome? You can do one or two things with it. You can give up entirely, or you can just push through and persist and come up with something that's quite glorious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he presented it to their guitarist, and the guitarist, came up with that ethereal, glassy.
It's so pretty,
riff.
Isn't it?
It's very pretty. Yeah.
The guitars are very pretty.
Echoes. Yeah. It's like you said. It's almost like you're tripping out in a church because it's that big reverb, that big echo. It's almost like you want to get high in a church and listen to that song on like the church speakers and just let that echo
and hear it, bouncing off the walls.
Around. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it's kind of got to me, it's got a bit of a lullaby sort of, it's kind of, because it is so, such a spiral and, it's kind of got that repetitiveness of a lullaby.
Yeah.
Maybe in the same key that a lullaby might be, but yeah, I'm here for it.
It's pretty cool. And I think, now that I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, that would probably be a really good song to like just wind down to as well. Like if you're having, an anxiety or feeling really heightened or need to like get to sleep, like that hypnotic playing of it. If you just concentrate on that, you'd be out like a light, I reckon.
Just don't listen to the lyrics.
No. Maybe get the instrumental version of it and just listen to the piano and the drums and the guitar.
Oh yeah, because I think the lyrics belie something rather more anxious.
Yes.
I
was going to say, even though he's singing in falsetto, in a lot of falsetto in the song, which is kind of, it goes well with the song, giving it that ethereal, hypnotic feel. It's also, as well as it is tender, it is really urgent and emphasizing the vulnerability of the lyrics as well, I think.
Yeah. There is an urgency and a vulnerability. I mean, should we get into some psychological analysis? Have you got any more interesting tidbits? Or
I do. I have a little bit of more interesting.
Okay,
tidbits.
all right. Let's get amongst it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was really curious because this song, you hear a lot of influences in this song, and I was like, oh, I wonder like what their influences would be, and all these influences they tie into this one song, and I guess as a whole as the band that would tie in as well. But their main influences are Radiohead, YouTube,
yeah.
U2. I was
Oh
going to say
yeah, I
YouTube.
can hear that. Not
U2.
YouTube. YouTube.
YouTube.
Oh yeah, I can totally hear that. I mean, we know that the Edge as a guitarist is very innovative
Yeah.
and has a lot of techniques that I think people have emulated
Mm-hmm.
over the years. But he was quite the pioneer with that kind of what did you call it? Like that crystal guitar sound. That
Yeah.
yeah.
Repeating notes,
Yeah.
that delay, that echo.
Yeah, that
That's what makes.
jangly.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right. So you two's in there. I hear that. Yeah. Who else?
Brian Eno, which I was like, oh yeah, the ambient side of things. Brian Eno, a lot of Britpop bands. Well, obviously they're a British band, so why wouldn't they get influences from their fellow Britpop bands? Muse, early Muse stuff when they were in that neo prog, classical. Well, I guess they always kind of had been, but a lot of their early stuff, especially in the drums and that, that repetitive, using the crashes a lot.
Yeah, use of the crash is very Muse-esque, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was like, where did Coldplay get their name from? Because obviously, we've said in previous episode, like, oh, I wonder where bands get their name from.
Yeah. Where'd they get their name from?
So, guess what they were? They were originally called Starfish.
Starfish. Well, they couldn't take that name because there is a very famous Australian band.
Well, there is, but it's not really like rock arena like band name material. It's
No.
like, hello, we're Starfish. Like, it's a bit like,
Yeah, I know. The starfish is just a little benign creature of the sea that's like, hello,
It
I'm
is.
here.
Yeah,
Don't step on me.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's not really arena rock, the starfish, is it?
no, that's right.
I mean, what's arena rock? Like the manta ray. That's arena rock.
That's right. Yeah, the sharks or
Yeah.
arena
Yeah.
rock sea creatures. We have to do something like that. What would be your arena rock sea creature
Sea
band name?
creature. Yeah, okay.
The
Yeah.
Stingrays obviously have to be the Stingrays.
I'm sure there's a band somewhere called the Stingrays. I'm sure. So just tell us in the comments, team.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was like a band, like a surf band from the 1950s called the Stingrays. There'd have to be.
Look, it would not surprise me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So where did they actually get Coldplay from? What is that inspired by?
Well, it's kind of like a hand-me-down band name. So a friend of theirs, who was a fellow student and musician. So this was like when they were starting out in like the late 90s. So before they became big and famous, and they were called Starfish, and hello, we're Starfish.
Right. Were they university friends? Were they university friends?
Yeah, they're fellow students. I would say
Students,
university and musicians.
Yeah.
His band was using the word Coldplay for their band, which came from a book of a poetry called Child Reflections, Coldplay.
Right. Okay.
By Philip Hawkey. The phrase Coldplay suggests the kind of emotionally distant aesthetic expression.
Okay, that is the worst British accent I've ever heard,
It really
but I'm
is.
here for it.
It is.
Golf clap. You get a golf clap for that.
Thank you. So the original Coldplay band didn't go anywhere, and he thought that the name was too depressing, I think, probably whatever style of music they were playing, so they abandoned it. And then Chris Martin and the guys thought it actually sounded cool, mysterious, and a little sad, which is, I guess, perfect for their vibe. So they asked if they could have the name, and their friend said, "Oh yeah, why not? Yeah, we're finished using it. Our band's not going anywhere. We're not going to be."
have it.
Yeah.
I wonder if they got royalties on it.
Ah, maybe.
I mean,
You would think that they would kind of,
cut the dude a check. you know?
just be like, thanks for giving us the name. Thanks for making us famous. Here's a couple of grand or something,
Right. Buy him a holiday. I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
Or a small island. I'm sure they could afford
Yeah.
a small island.
Show your gratitude.
That's it.
Well, that is very interesting. So
Yeah.
it's not really an original name generated by Chris Martin et al. It
No.
is. It's a recycled name.
It's a hand-me-down name.
Wow. Okay, well, look, we are about sustainability and
That's it. Our carbon footprint on band names.
right. I mean, they started at the turn of the century, didn't they? They just they
it.
carved a path
Yeah,
of
that's it.
recycling.
Y2K? No, we're not gonna. We just want someone else's band name.
That's it. Yeah, for sustainability and recycling and to
Yeah.
save the planet.
I wonder now how many other bands have secondhand band names.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of bands that have changed their name. Like Queen was Smile. So,
Yeah,
I
they
think
were.
we talked about that in another episode. And if we haven't, sorry, but we
Yeah.
might have. Yeah, I think, you look, I think as humans and as musicians, you go through iterations, right? You're not the same person that sometimes that you were when you started out, your musical endeavors or your life endeavors or whatever
that's right.
whatever your endeavors are. So I think that it is it's human nature to grow and change and adapt and for your identity to shift a little, and lots of bands might need a name change to reflect that growth and development.
100%.
So yeah.
But I wonder, like, how many of those band name changes have been like a hand-me-down from someone else, and then made that band name popular on behalf of the other person.
That is certainly unique. But I think, let's face it, if they were called Starfish, would we be talking about them on a podcast
Probably not.
today?
No, probably not.
No, because I'm just little in the sea. Don't step on me.
I'm a little starfish.
That's right. No, you're not. You're a
No.
deep, melancholy ColdPlay is
That's
what
it.
you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manta Ray Coldplay.
That's it. What is your sea creature band name? Your arena rock band name. But
Put it in the comments below.
Yeah.
Tell us your sea
Tell
creature
us-
band name.
Tell us your sea creature band name.
That's it.
I'll have to think of one. What are those, like the dugongs? That's it. Those.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the dugongs. Okay, let me talk about the dugongs.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna be a folk band along the lines of. They're not going to be an arena rock band.
Yeah.
They're going to be a folk band along the lines of.
Like a hipster folk band?
Oh, I'm not talking Mumford and Sons. I'm stepping back a generation.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm thinking Indigo Girls.
Oh, yeah.
Or the Australian group Tidders. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but that's my sea creature name. The dugongs.
That's cool. The dugongs.
The dugongs, and we are a folk band because they look like the cuddliest, the cuddliest of the sea creatures, don't they?
They are cuddly.
Yeah. Anyway, we digress. Have you got one?
We did. Yeah, I'm gonna. What was my first one? The Stingrays? No.
No. The Great Whites.
The Great Whites? Oh, that's. I don't know.
What genre are they?
The Great Whites.
Are they? They're hair metal. That's what they are.
They are hair metal.
They're
Yeah.
hair metal.
They are 80s hair metal. Like Wasp, the Great Whites.
Yeah, the Great Whites. Yeah.
And we'd be all in our like 60s with great white hair. We'd be like old school, like in our 60s hair metal.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Losing your voices. A bit
Losing
Vince
our voices.
Neil-y.
Yeah, a little bit.
Bit Vince Neil.
Yeah, but natural, not plastic surgery and blonde hair. Like we'll go natural,
We'll go
age
natural.
gracefully.
Just age gracefully. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm here for it. Okay. I digress. Let's get back to Coldplay and clocks.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I think I wanted to start with the first line, which is the lights go out and I can't be saved. First impressions?
Yeah.
I mean, what does that mean? It's a bit dramatic, isn't it? The
It is
lights
very
go out and I
dramatic.
can't be saved. Do you know, if I had a patient in front of me and they said, the lights go out and I can't be saved, I'd be like, okay, So that's a bit of an anxious thought.
Yeah, very.
And
That's almost on the borderline of like, uh, please don't top yourself type of thing, you know?
yeah,
Like,
maybe there's some suicidal ideation
yeah,
that sits in there, and certainly I would be doing a risk assessment if
yeah.
I sensed
Or,
that
no one's home and I'm just a shell.
maybe the lights go out and I can't be saved, and
Yeah,
I've got no depth, maybe.
yeah.
But I mean, if we were taking it literally, I might say to a patient, okay, let's look for some evidence of that you can't be saved. Have we got some evidence that suggests that we can be saved? I might actually, try to challenge that thought, but I think certainly the song starts with a sense of emotional overwhelm, doesn't it?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's like things are pretty serious when, the first line sort of sounds like the start of a blackout or
It is. Almost internal conflict as well.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, what could the conflict be like? I've if the lights have gone out, what have I lost my spark?
Yeah.
What's the conflict? Conflict is generally something versus something. Like, oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the conflict would be. It would be something about like, maybe, is it worth it? Is it,
Mm.
you know,
Have I just
gosh,
given up? Is it
have
like,
I
is
just
that
given
it?
up?
Yeah.
Is it giving up versus pushing on?
Yeah.
Kind of like we were talking about a little bit with Chris Martin and his sense of imposter syndrome about this song,
Yeah.
to begin with. But, it does hint at a certain sense of emotional dysregulation that needs to be regulated,
Hmm.
that we need to, bring down. But it kind of has a bit of a flavour of of learned helplessness. Like, there's this theorist, Martin Seligman. Now, for the psychs, mental health social workers, counsellors, psychotherapists out there, if I get this wrong, you let me know.
Comment
Hit,
below.
hit me in the comments. But Martin Seligman, I think, did some experiments with dogs. And with and I think the dogs got electric shocks on their beds, maybe.
Right.
And, to begin with, they'd sort of get up, they'd startle, they'd, shift around, try and figure out what was going on. But in the end, the dogs just kind of like laid down on the shocking beds and were just like, oh, well,
Accept
whatever.
it. Accept fate.
This is me now.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Just another day in paradise. Bzz, oh, there I go again.
there I go again. Yeah. So it kind of, the first line kind of hints at sort of a hopelessness, really. Like, but, again, I would try and challenge that thought. And I just think that, like, it speaks to the deeper existential dread,
Mm.
right? Or the deeper existential questions that this song brings up. I suppose that, he then goes on to speak a bit more about the anxiety, about, the futility of like when life's coming at you,
Hmm.
it's tides that I tried to swim against, so
Yeah.
do I just like let it wash over me, or am I fighting against this thing, or am I,
Mm.
is it worth struggling against this thing that's completely unstoppable? I don't know. Chris Martin's a deep thinker, and he's certainly showing us some kind of sense of futility, maybe that life's pretty futile. I think there's,
Hmm.
if we sort of go back to that existentialism, existence, like
Time.
existentialism is kind of a question about what's it all for.
That's right. And how long have I got to do everything that's going on
Wow.
up here?
How long have I, yeah, because we're faced with ticking clocks, right?
Hmm.
So it's, yeah, I think that sort of certainly can make one feel very anxious. Like,
I was just about to say, when someone feels anxious, all they think about is, oh, I've got this much time to do this, and once if I don't, I'm going to be this age in 3 years' time, and once if I haven't accomplished or bought a house or gotten married, or your life just starts flashing like nonstop, and by the time you think about it, you've wasted hours just thinking about things that are probably not going to happen or that have already happened, and you're just spiraling out of control in a giant circle.
Right, like the piano riff that never resolves. Yeah.
That's it.
But that's sort of getting a bit stuck in and it's very anxiety inducing, this thing, a bit of what we might call future oriented thinking. And when you get a bit stuck in future oriented thinking, you're creating scenarios that may or may not happen, or it creates an internal anguish and maybe a longing for something that you want, but you don't really quite know how you can achieve it.
Because you put unrealistic timelines on those things as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I have to buy, I look at it as like, oh, okay, I've met someone. Okay, we've been together for a couple of years. Okay, now I have to get engaged. Okay, oh, we're engaged. Oh, now I have to get married. Oh, now that we're married, now we've got to get a house. Like, it's got these unrealistic timelines.
Yeah. Or what about if it's a trajectory that you don't want? Like maybe you're like, asexual, or you've kind of got you don't want to get partnered, or maybe, it's, but maybe your life's purpose is something else, but you don't quite know what it is. Don't quite know sort of what it is. As the lyrics say, confusion that never stops, closing walls and ticking clocks.
Yeah.
So maybe there's an anguish really about trying to figure out what the thing is that you want, or trying to figure out, what it is that you want to do with your life. All the while you've kind of got this existentialism hanging over you, like what is it all for?
That's right.
What's it all for? And I think that this song really speaks to, I think for all of us humans, there kind of comes a point where we do question our existence and what we're doing here, and what does it mean, and
what is the meaning of life?
What is the meaning of life? And for all of my psychological friends out there, I think this kind of reminds me of, and I'm not sure Chris Martin has read this book or was thinking about this when they were writing. And I just say Chris Martin, I mean the whole band. I'm pretty sure he might have just been the guy that wrote the lyrics,
and the piano part.
And we know he wrote the piano part in 15 minutes.
That's it.
Approximately. Very clever. The imposter syndrome was not warranted. Because certainly it's all come together metaphorically in the spiral of things. So anyway, happy with that. But so sorry, I digress. My point is that it kind of reminds me of a book that a lot of therapists would have read.
Yeah.
It's called Man's Search for Meaning by he was a psychiatrist. Mm-hmm. His name is Viktor Frankl, and he lived through the Holocaust, and he was in a concentration camp. And from his time in the concentration camp, he made several observations about, existence and meaning, and so much so that he developed a kind of therapy around this. And I think that some other therapists have kind of built on his work. I'm thinking of another one called Irvin Yalom, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But anyway, Viktor Frankl, I mean, it's a wonderful book. So if anybody wants to learn a little bit more about, some of the, I suppose, early psychological theories,
And the
because
real meaning of life.
yeah, right. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so
Of all
anyway,
of all people to write something about that
about
and go,
man's search for meaning, yeah,
yeah,
and his observations, and he sort of came to the conclusion that one finds meaning in life in a few ways, and the first way is you find meaning through work, particularly if that work is creative, but also aligned with a purpose that's greater than ourselves. So he kind of noticed that people that were involved in, creative pursuits and pursuits that were greater than themselves were kind of the ones to cling on to life and survive in
yeah,
spite of the conditions and the treatment and the trauma and the constant threat of death. And he also said that another way that as humans we find meaning is through love, which often manifests in the service of others. So
yeah,
again, helping other people and really aligning with purposes greater than ourselves. And he also says that we find meaning through suffering, and being with others as they suffer. And again, I guess that is also, another service to humankind and to a purpose greater than ourselves. So, circling back, what's my point, AJ? My point is that when you're having an existential crisis
yeah,
and you're getting a little bit bogged down in future oriented thinking, and you're
yeah,
wondering, and this future oriented thinking is kind of, creating a internal anguish, and I think, it's kind of maybe focusing on the here and now and what your meaning is. How are you
yeah,
being of service to others? Can you show gratitude for how others are of service to you? Can we get you back into the here and now? Because all we have is the present moment. The
that's it.
future is not certain. And so can we get you back to the here and now, focusing on what's important in the here and now,
Yeah,
and if there's any meaning in what you're doing in the here and now, and can we create a little bit of creativity and towards a purpose that's greater than ourselves, and can we focus on being of service to others and supporting others in their suffering? Can we find some meaning there to help us manage our sense of existential dread? So we can thank Viktor Frankl for those ideas and the therapy that he kind of manifested from his observations in the concentration camps and his experiences, and his help of people who were suffering, and how he was of service to others. Which
because
is,
they were living minutes, hours, days, weeks, months.
yeah, it was a minute by minute proposition. It was the worst of humanity. But, at the same time, Viktor Frankl offers us that it was the best of humanity in some ways, of how people helped each other,
Yeah,
how they supported each other, even when it was, particularly dark, and there were a lot of
yeah,
dark forces even within the concentration camps and their own people and factions, and power struggles and all of that stuff. He found some light in that. And so I think, when songs like Clocks by ColdPlay kind of, having a little whine about what it's all for. I mean, we've got to kind of, try and find a way to find what it's all for to help us manage that crises or that, there's another lyric which is beautiful about, am I part of the cure or am I part of the disease? Well, that's, maybe the answer to that existential crisis is how can we be part of the cure? I mean, it is the ultimate line in overthinking, for someone who's kind of a bit anxious. It's the kind of thought that you're going to have at like 2 a.m. that sort of spirals you into your, back into your childhood and
and they always say nothing good ever happens after 2 a.m.
Nothing good happens after 2. Yeah.
Even after 1 a.m. Nothing ever good happens after 1 a.m. No.
No, exactly. Well, actually, that's a lyric in another song that I would love us to do, which is kind of one that got me into wanting to do songs on the couch, which is Bad Habits by Ed Sheeran, which maybe we'll do that next time. But but he says nothing happens after 2 in that song.
That's right. It's true.
Yeah.
Nothing good ever happens after 2 a.m.
Nothing good ever happens after 2 a.m. So if you're finding yourself in the existential crisis spiral at 2 a.m., think about, what could you do to be part of the cure, not part of the disease? And it doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't have to be big. It can be smiling at a stranger. I mean,
right.
I don't know. Have we lost our ability to be able to do that without people thinking, what do you want?
That's right. Take a picture, it lasts longer.
Right? Are you weird?
Yeah, that's right.
But, even when you go into a shop, right, and the retail assistant comes up to you and says, hey, can I help you? You can say, I really like your earrings. Nice choice. Goes with your outfit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just
instead of going, no, thanks, I'm fine. I've got this. I don't need your help. Browsing, thanks. They get just browsing.
Yeah. So I think what we can do is, be kinder, is what you're saying.
Well, I was also going to say, or in the immortal words of Monty Python, just always look on the bright side of life.
Yeah. Right. And, we can. And I don't want to minimize, the feelings for people who can't or don't. No. I mean, that's, there's people have seen some shit. People have been through some shit. And sometimes it's really hard to look on the bright side of life. Sometimes it's, sometimes there's a lot of pain. I mean, there's always therapy for that. That's helpful.
Or they put it in a pop song and they turn it into a hit.
Right. And, even sometimes listening to a pop song like that can lift your mood.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think when we get stuck in our existential crisis.
In our clock ticking.
Clock ticking, the confusion that never stops and the closing walls and ticking clocks.
Ticking clocks,
Not clicking tocks, but ticking clocks.
We're going a bit Dr. Seuss here.
Aren't we?
Ticks and tocks and clocks and clicks. And
That's right.
You can tell I've read a lot of as a parent, you read a lot of Dr. Seuss books.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I'm through that phase, but you are deep in it.
Deep in those ticking clocks and tock and clicks.
I think when we can sort of, when we feel that mounting pressure of trying to find, what's the meaning, what's the purpose. Hey, just keep it little, keep it local. We don't have to get really embroiled in that future-oriented thinking. No. I think that, this time urgency of figuring it all out and that creeping sense that you're running out of time, to kind of become the person that you're meant to be. You're perfect as you are, just in the now. That's right. I mean, millennials might call that Sunday evening, but that's just a typical Sunday evening. But
they say Rome wasn't built in a day.
No, it takes practice. Change is hard. And I think I can hear in this song Chris Martin's anguish to get out of this existential spirally loop
Yeah.
that we're in, because
Yeah.
he talks about home, where I wanted to go,
Yeah.
which speaks to the safety of regressing back to the childhood state where there were no existential crises or dread, where we were just playing with our Barbies and our Transformers and He-Man and
Ninja Turtles.
our Ninja Turtles,
Our Ninja Turtles.
and
Lego.
Lego, and our for the later people, the Wiggles dolls. What else? Our PJ Masks dolls.
Jeez, yeah.
Our Disney characters, and there was nothing as big out there than what was in our bedroom, right? So that's Chris Martin's plea to kind of get back in touch with his inner child in a safe place. It's
Press that reset button.
press the reset button. Yeah. When you realize that life as an adult looked better on paper than it does in reality.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's an existential, anguished song about time running out to make big decisions. And I just want to say to everyone, chill out, man. Let's just chill out.
That's it. Well, listen to this. Listen to this song.
Listen to
And
this
just
song.
chill out.
Yeah,
Get
but
into that
don't listen-
hypnotic feel.
Right? Like, get into that hypnotic feel. Just don't listen to the lyrics, because if the lyrics were, I suppose, a therapy patient, they might present as quite anxious,
Yeah.
full-time existential spiraler.
Yeah.
I think that they'd probably be really punctual, because they're all about clocks.
That's it. Gotta be on time.
Gotta be on time. Yeah, I think their mood would be rather melancholy, but maybe hopeful, because they're quite intellectual, so they will think their way out of it.
That's it.
I think they might, be feeling their feels, but maybe a bit too deeply. Probably around winter time, they might have a case of the SADS, the seasonal affective disorder. They might have a lot of insight, but only because they're overthinkers and overanalyzers.
And that's not always a bad thing.
Not always a bad thing, but sometimes we've got to bring you back to the present moment, bring you back to the here and now, get out of the future. We don't have a lot of control over that, but we can kind of try and be still in the here and now. So I reckon that's probably the kind of therapy patient that Clocks is. They're going to have a lot of internal conflict. Probably use a lot of defensive strategies, like maybe a bit of try to maybe rationalizing their feelings. Maybe a bit of idealism, romanticism. That there's beauty in their pain. But I think, overall, we're going to challenge that future-oriented all or nothing thinking. We're going to address the time anxiety is what we're going to do.
That's it.
Yeah, and we're going to build emotional tolerance, because it's okay to feel this anguish, but no feelings are final. It will pass, and we can use some strategies to get you back into the here and now and to help you manage your existential dread by doing something that sits in the service of helping others, even if it's just minor, even if it's just showing gratitude.
That's right.
So yeah, I think that's my take on Clocks by ColdPlay. Bit deep.
But it's good. It's a good hypnotic deep.
But listen, I'm not sure if that's what Chris Martin had in mind, because, this is all speculative.
That's it.
But look, we had a crack at trying to decode what ColdPlay were on about. You got any final thoughts?
I have one final thought.
Yeah.
Just like a stopwatch, you can always press the button and reset and start at 0.
Yes, you can.
And start again.
Yes, you can. That is very poignant. Yeah.
And on that note,
On that note, is our time up? How's our 50-minute hour going?
oh, we've gone over, but you know what? It's
Yeah.
it's a good that we've gone over. It's worth every minute that we've gone over.
Isn't it? Because it was insightful, and that's what we would tell someone in the therapy room.
100%.
It's okay. Couple of minutes is over. We developed and gained some beautiful insight that you can take with you until the next session.
Until our next episode of Songs on the Couch.
Until our next episode on the Songs on the Couch. So we might have given it away. Hey, why don't we do Ed Sheeran, Bad Habits?
Keep it in that British Britpop
Yes.
of the
20
2020s, 2010s.
Yeah, he's a bit of a dugong. His style of storytelling and folk
It is a
story.
little bit dugonish,
He's
yeah.
a little bit dugong, isn't he?
From rags to riches.
Listen, from busking
That's
to from busking to Beverly Hills, he's living the dream.
He is.
Yeah,
We'll talk about it next time.
we sure will. All right, drum chucks. I'll
All
see
right.
you when I'm looking at ya.
See you when you're looking at you.
Bye.
Bye.
On the couch. On the couch.
Thanks for tuning in to Songs on the Couch. We hope you enjoyed putting today's song under the microscope with us.
And hey, the conversation doesn't have to end here. Join us over on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Songs on the Couch, where we're sharing behind the scene clips, more fun music insights, and of course, chatting with you all.
And if you're an artist, musician, psychologist, counsellor, psychotherapist, or know someone who'd love to sit on the couch with us, have your management reach out. We'd love to hear from you at hello@songsonthecouch.com.
Follow us, subscribe, and let's keep rocking out together. Catch you next time on Songs on the Couch.